Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And today we're having another episode of our romance reading wrap up where we're talking about all the books that we've been reading. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Bree is here.
Hey, everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, like we were talking about before we hit record, it feels like forever since we've talked. So I'm
I
happy to be
know.
talking to you today.
I know. I miss having my chats with Bree. So because it's been since the end of February since
Yeah.
we last recorded. But yeah, we had a busy. I felt like March just lasted forever. It was so busy
It
for
was.
me.
Yeah. It's been a busy few seasons of life. I feel like
Yeah.
we just
Well,
cannot catch a break.
well, I mean, you're just amazing because you've got all that you do for your podcast and for us and your kids and family, and you're going to school. Just amazing.
I don't know how I'm living.
No, I don't know either. But yeah, I got to do a bit more reading than normal because I had 2 trips since we last spoke, which is
Oh, I
kind of,
saw your list. I was like, oh, Rachel's done
yeah, that's
some
why,
reading
because
this month.
a lot of reading / listening reading.
Yeah.
I went to California at the very end of February for the Hollywood Critics Association awards, which was super fun. And then I went to New York City for a Broadway trip.
Saw,
It was so fun.
Seeing you and Jax together, I was like, oh
Oh,
my gosh. Girl,
she's
you
my
hit up
girl.
both coasts in a month. Like you hit up both of the coasts.
That's true. That's true. It was so fun. I love Jax so much, and we had a great time together. And I got to see my friend Kristen Maldonado, who is also a YouTuber friend of mine, who's amazing. And so that was really fun too. And go to 7 shows. So that was,
Yeah, New York City is like a dream trip. Like I was talking to one of my close friends that I was in the military with, and I knew she went there for New Year's Eve, but I assumed she like went with people. And she's like, "No, I went by myself."
oh,
And
that's
I'm like,
awesome.
"That
Love
is
that.
so cool." She's like, "Yeah, I'm actually really glad that I did that." She's like, "I could get up and do whatever I wanted." She's like, "I walked to all the places that I wanted to see." She's like, "I
Mm-hmm.
highly recommend like everybody just, I think as women we kind of have that fear of doing something like that."
Yeah.
But she's like, I totally do not regret taking that trip by
It is a very
myself.
empowering experience. This trip was kind of a mixture because I was there with a group called Utah Theater Lovers, but I didn't know any of them. I mean, I knew them from Facebook, but in real life, I didn't know any of them. And so it was kind of with people, but also kind of going alone, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was fun. They were super, super nice. And, but yeah, I got to do a lot of reading. And that's one of the thing of travel is that I do a little more reading than usual
Yeah. Yeah.
because you just don't have time to like watch a movie or things like that. So, get a little bit of reading in, and, on the plane and everything, I usually listen to a book. So we have a book by our friend Teri Wilson today that we're talking about.
Yes. The
Once
always
upon
lovely Teri Wilson.
Yes, and we had announced a different book, but then we decided to change,
Yeah.
and we're talking about Once Upon a Royal Summer. This is one of her Hallmark Publishing books, and it's a perfect fit for if you're talking about author and book. This is a perfect fit.
So on
I
brand.
think. Yeah. It's a theme park princess meets a single dad who turns out to be a real prince. So yeah, it's a perfect fit because she loves anything royal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Following her
And
online, yeah, you can see.
mm-hmm.
And I was
And
excited
so
because I do believe she's working on, I don't know if it's going to be like a series. I know she's working on another one that's also royalty for Hallmark, and I believe it's a Christmas. And I love when she gives us a Christmas romance. So,
yeah, that'll be fun.
yeah.
That'll be really fun. Yeah, this came out last year. We talked about it a little bit in Reading Roundup, but we hadn't had it as an exclusive book. But overall, what did you think of this one?
I think, like you said, I think if anyone listening has yet to read anything by Teri Wilson, I think this is the perfect place to start. Because, like you said, you really get to know her personality through this book. She loves all things royalty. So, this is like the book she was meant to write, I
Yeah.
feel. And I just think it's such a creative spin on royalty romance. So, it's really fun. I don't know. It's a really fun book.
Yeah, I think so too. So the idea is that there's basically this Disney World but it's Sweet Pea, this theme park, and it's set in in Florida, and it's basically supposed to be Disney World. And she is a fairy tale princess at this theme park, and she always wanted to be a fairy tale, a theme park princess, because when she was a child, they came to the hospital, cheered her up. And so she always wanted to do that. And so we have the hot widower prince from Bella Moritz is the name of the fake country. That was a pretty good fake country name. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, good. Yeah, a lot of times it's like Genovia,
Yes.
Benovia, Manovia.
Like, where did we come up with
Yeah.
this? Somebody call Terry Wilson next time Hallmark needs an idea for like a kingdom name.
Yeah. And he has a little girl, and he decides to take the little girl to this theme park, basically Disney World, and she ends up being Lacey ends up being their tour guide, basically for when they're at this place. And the only thing that I was just like, no way. I think for somebody like Lacey, there is no way she wouldn't have known who this prince was.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, because I mean, she loves anything royal, and I don't know. I know this is supposed to be some like tiny little country or whatever, but I still feel like she would know who the
Yeah.
princes are.
I don't know. I mean, that makes total sense. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think that there are, because I like grew up, of course, loving like the Disney princesses and stuff, right? But I've never
Mm-hmm.
been like a real life royalty person. Like, I don't really care, you know?
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, and I think it's, I don't want to speak for all Americans because I can't. Like, I talked to my friend who's in Canadian. She's like, you guys don't care because you're American. Where like in Canada, they're still really attached to, like the British
Mm-hmm.
royalty like that. She's like, so it is a big deal to us. So I'm like, I kind of see both sides. Like being a fairy tale princess, we grow up with the Disney princesses, but that
Uh-huh.
doesn't necessarily mean that you're like paying attention to like
Yeah.
her real
I
life
mean,
royalty.
I guess maybe people don't know like the royal family in Denmark or Spain or sort of these other countries that have them.
Yeah.
That I think Sweden has one. There's other countries aside, like everybody who knows the British, of course. Uh, like if Prince William and Kate came to if Prince William came to Disney World, everybody would
We
know.
would know, yeah, we would know that one.
But maybe one of these other ones, maybe they might not know. But I appreciated the relationship between Henry and Rose, the little girl. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah, it was adorable. It was
Hmm.
adorable.
You said you're a big Disney princess. You were a big Disney princess fan. Would you have a favorite of the princesses?
Oh my gosh, like, growing up, of course, I was obsessed with Belle because, she was the reader.
Right.
And then but I loved Pocahontas, like, Pocahontas made me cry. It still makes me cry, like,
Uh
when she's
huh.
on the cliff, like, waving goodbye. I don't know why, I'm always a mess.
Yeah.
Um, And then of course I love Tiana when she came in, but I think my like diehard favorite fan is Merida, and I don't even think she's really like a Disney princess per se.
Yeah, Pixar.
I love her. I love when she rips that cape off and starts shooting those arrows. I'm like, this is the brand new princess that we all deserve.
Yeah, I liked it on Ralph Breaks the Internet when the princesses are all talking. And they're like, she's from the other studio.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, do you remember like Frozen when Frozen came? It was a
Oh, yeah.
huge deal. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I really like Frozen. I like Frozen too. I think it was people were really tough on it, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I love Tangled is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, that's so fun. I love that one
Mhm.
too.
I
Yeah.
love Rapunzel. And my favorite of the princesses, I mean, it's kind of weird because there's a bunch that we think are actual official princesses, but they're not.
Yeah.
They haven't had their coronation. Like, actually, Elsa and Anna both are not official princesses, which is kind of wild. But I think eventually they'll have Moana, but I don't know if they will because like the whole joke in the movie of like I'm not a princess. But anyway, I do like Moana, but it's hard because Mulan is probably my favorite,
Oh, yeah.
but she's not real. Like she is an official Disney princess, but she's not really a princess. But anyway,
Yeah.
and I love Ariel. A lot of
Oh,
people think
yeah.
Ariel's annoying. I don't care. I like her.
Well, like Megan said, Ariel had to lose her voice to snag the guy.
if if my dad had destroyed my grotto with all my stuff, I would be
Uh,
pretty mad too.
We'd be all, yeah.
I
My
don't blame
little
her.
space, like all a girl
Yeah.
wants. You know, Virginia Woolf said a woman needs a room of her own. And like
Yeah.
your dad ruins yours in a fit of rage.
Yeah. So,
we'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
but yeah, there's kind of two parts of this movie. There's kind of two parts to this book. There's
Mhm.
the part where she's giving the tour and they're getting to know each other in the park. And then there's the part where her and Ava go over to Bella Maritz. And did you prefer one part over the other?
I didn't. I think that what Teri Wilson does so wonderful in this book is just we meet them on her turf, and I really love kind of the reveal that like, oh gosh, this is a real prince. I loved that scene. But then when in the second half of the book, it's like, yeah, she does this and it's pretend. It's something pretend that makes a lot of, kids very, very happy. But she does know her stuff. Like she can fit into that world because she does this every day for work, She knows the dances, she knows the protocol and all of that. So I really loved both equally, I think. What about you?
Yeah, I probably liked the second part a little bit better than the first part. But they were both a lot of fun. I like the fact that they didn't make the parents jerks. His
Yeah,
parents,
true.
the king and queen,
True.
especially queen. That she was like totally fine with the relationship.
Yeah.
That was refreshing.
I don't think Teri Wilson would have written like an evil queen.
But when she hugs the queen, and the queen's kind of like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we don't hug over here." That was cute. Yeah. So I have my little selection, and this is on page 1579 in the Kindle, and it's Henry's face was right there, mere inches from hers. Beneath handfuls of Ralph Lauren fine knit fabric, she could feel his heartbeat pounding like mad. Or was that frantic boom boom her own heart galloping wildly in her chest? She honestly couldn't tell. Henry's gaze dropped to her mouth and she licked her lips. He was going to kiss her like they were a pair of completely normal teenagers riding in a pirate-themed tunnel of love instead of what they were, mismatched royalty. He lowered his head ever so slowly, and Lacey tipped her face toward his. She never identified with her theme park character more in her life. This is craziness. And yet it felt right. Somehow it really did. Until Henry pulled away in the moment right before their lips touched.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's really good.
I like the frantic boom boom, her own heart galloping away. And I know, she just does it. This is craziness.
This is craziness. That sounds like Teri Wilson.
Yeah. That was a good one. So if we were going to cast this movie with Hallmark stars, I mean, if we were going to cast this book as a movie with Hallmark stars, who do you think would play Henry?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna I want Antonio to play him. I want
That'd be cute.
Henry to be a man of color.
Yeah, that would be good. I
I'd
hadn't
love
thought
to
of
see
him for some
Antonio as a
reason.
prince. Yes, I'd love to see him
Yeah.
as a prince.
That would be
Who
good.
would your prince be? Who would Henry be?
I was trying to think of who's really good with kids. And I mean that you can pick almost anybody, but I think Christopher Palaha would be fun.
Has Andrew Walker played a prince yet?
No.
I love me some Andrew Walker too. Between him and Antonio, I think those would be my picks. Of course, I know everybody loves Tyler Hines, and I do too. So Tyler Hines could do it, but like I
wonder
like
if Tyler
Andrew
will ever play a prince. But I just know that Palaha loved doing a British accent so much in Dickens of a Holiday.
Yeah.
And so if you gave him to be a prince, I think he would be really fun.
Yeah.
That
so
would
many
be
good
funny.
options. Yeah, so many good
So
options.
who would be a good Lacey?
I don't know. This is tough. I mean, because obviously there are actresses that have already played the princesses before, that would absolutely nail it. I mean, of course, you think of like Lacey. Lacey would be, I think, really great, and I'd love to see her and Antonio in a film together. Just saying.
Yeah, I think they would have actually. They would have good chemistry.
Yeah. I don't know, but I love me some Jill. I love me some Ashley.
Yeah, that's actually who I thought of, Ashley Williams.
Yes.
Playing. I feel like she would be fun as this theme park princess, and she is really good with little kids.
Yeah.
Like in October
Ashley
Kiss.
is like a real life undercover princess. So we're going to go with Ashley.
It could be basically her character in October Kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like her and Palaha would be a good match.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Don't you think?
That would be fun. But I'd love to see her and Antonio.
Yeah. It would. I mean, that would be good too.
Yeah.
I think they would be a good match too. And yeah, I'm trying to think of anybody else.
Oh my gosh. Our girl that used to play in Young and Hungry, and she was in one of the Christmas movies.
Emily Osment.
Yeah, I think she would actually be really
Yeah,
good
she would
too.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of the new faces, like,
Mhm.
we know there are actresses that can absolutely do it because we've seen them do it multiple times. I'd love to see some of these new faces that have like joined the Hallmark team.
That's true. Or like Katie Sackhoff would be cute.
Oh gosh, I loved her movie.
It was
What was it?
good.
The sailing one, right? It
Yeah.
was so good.
And
It
she's
was so
just
good.
I just thought of Amy Acker would be perfect for like a bubbly uh she's so cute and bubbly for a theme park princess.
Yeah. Yeah.
She would be really good. Yeah. Well, let us know if you've read the book and you have who you would be if you were central casting for Once Upon a Royal Summer. If you're listening to Hallmark, let us know. We're available to provide help.
We have ideas.
Hmm. Yeah.
I can't wait to see what she does with the next one. I was just like really excited to see her talking about it. Like not much, just throwing, little
Hmm.
hints out there that she is working on her next royalty book for Hallmark and it's Christmas themed. So Teri, if you're listening, please give us the deets.
Yes.
Rachel and I would love to know. You can come on and talk to us about it. We're excited for it.
Yeah.
She does have an anthology coming out. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on Something Blue, I think it's called. I
Oh.
think it comes out in like the beginning of June. So I just wanted to plug that. I know it's they did like a Christmas themed book, I think 2 Christmases ago at this point. And
Hmm.
then now we're getting like the kind of like wedding themed, I think, anthology. So shout out to Teri Wilson. She's like
Yeah.
all over the place right now.
Well, she was our guest. Her and Cindy were our guests for Cindy would actually be really cute as a theme park princess. But her and Cindy were our guests for our patron Q&A in January, and we were going to do watch along. We changed it to Q&A because she had ended up having a book deadline that day that was of the watch along. So it was so nice of her to squeeze us in. But yeah, if you have thought about joining the Patreon, you really should, because we have really great experiences like getting to talk to Teri Wilson in January. And I'm really excited because in April, our watch along, it's going to be another Q&A. Actually, it's going to be with Kathy Cloves, who wrote It Was Always You and The Christmas Promise, which were very popular last year. And so we get a chance to talk to her. And so if you like Hallmark movies, you totally should become a patron. It's great. We have so
Yes.
much fun every month. We had Will Kemp last month. That was super fun. So definitely all the information's in the description. You should check it out. But yeah, Teri's great. We we had her on over the holidays to talk about A Royal Queen's Christmas, which I really enjoyed. Did you watch that one?
I'm like blanking. Like, what was
It's
that movie?
He's got Megan Park and Julian Morris, and he's a prince, and she ends up working with him in Queens, and it was just cute.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was funny, and I thought they had great chemistry. So I don't think it was that popular with most other people, but me and Anne both loved
it. I can just see Anne
Yeah.
rolling her eyes now because me and her have like messaged inbox on Instagram. She's like, "What's your deal with royalty movies?" And I'm like, "I just don't really care that much." I can just see her.
Yeah, I was as skeptical as anybody else, but when it's done well, it's done well.
This is true. Yes.
Any genre can be done well. And that's the case, I think, with this book. And that's the case with A Royal Queen's Christmas. It was really cute.
Yeah.
So you should check it out.
I just feel like I don't remember any of the ones that I watched last year except for the freaking Paul Campbell and Tamara Mowry movie. Like, what else did I watch? Yeah. Oh, Paul Campbell would be a fun prince.
He wasn't the prince, but he's been in a royal movie.
Yeah, he'd
He
be a
was,
fun prince, I think.
yeah, he would be fun.
And Tamara
Yeah.
could be the princess.
Oh, that'd be cute.
Get those two on screen again together.
Yeah, she'd be cute theme park princess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you think this world was believable as like the Disney World stand-in?
I mean, I did. I don't think she overdid it. Like, I don't think she gave us so much to where you had to like focus so much on the details. I feel like what she did, like the little bit that she gave us, it was like, okay, I can totally see this. I've also, listeners, never been to Disney World or Disneyland, so I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm assuming Teri Wilson's probably been a lot.
Yeah.
But I think when you try to give too much details, that's when the reader is like, oh, this wouldn't happen and this wouldn't happen and they don't do this. And I feel like she kept that at a minimum. Like, it was, the focus was on the romance.
Yeah, like they had the pirate attraction. They had, a lot of the same ones that you have at Disney World. I've only been to Disney World once when I was 12, but one of my, I guess, guilty pleasures is that I love watching park YouTubers when they're even, it's so ridiculous. I know
I've
so
never
much.
looked this up before.
I know so much about Disney World. It's ridiculous. And I have no plans in going there because I'm a Disneyland person. And yet I know I could tell you all about California Grill or the Grand Floridian. And it's like, why do I know all this stuff? Why do I waste my time? But it's like this weird, I don't
So
know,
there are
thing. I just really
YouTubers that
enjoy
make
watching
videos.
YouTubers.
There are
Park
YouTubers that make videos just dedicated to
Oh,
Disney World.
oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot. And they'll review all the different like snacks and
Do you know how
hotels
expensive
and
Disney World is? Like, are
because
they
Disneyland is
hooking them?
way smaller than Disney World.
Okay.
Way small.
So tell me why you prefer Disneyland over Disney World.
I
Just
mean,
e-whiz.
it's just way closer.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's closer to you. That's true.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it's the OG. I mean, it's the original Disneyland,
Oh, Disneyland was original to Disney
Yeah, Disneyland
World.
was the first one.
Oh,
That
cool.
the first of all the parks, and I still think it's really charming, and the food is so good in Disneyland. It's expensive, but it's so delicious, and it's just, and everything is so clean that I mean they have every, I don't know, and just the cast members are so friendly. It just makes for a really lovely place to go, I think.
Maybe I need to aspire to go there. Like my 6-year-old, he wants to go so bad,
That's
and
a
it's
good age, I feel like.
yeah.
Because too much younger, then they are going to have fits, and it's going to
And we like
be.
want to go before he's too old and like doesn't care anymore. But I mean, Disney
Yeah.
World is kind of far from Texas, and it'd be a
Yeah,
really
you're right in the
expensive
middle.
trick. So
I mean, the downside to Disneyland, as opposed to Disney World, is that there's only like two, I think maybe three official Disneyland hotels. But they're all really expensive. Whereas Disney World has tons of hotels, and they have value price hotels. Disney World is just way bigger, huge. There's 4 whole parks at Disney World, and there's just 2 at Disneyland.
yeah,
And you can walk to everything where you can't in a Disney World. But anyway, I'm excited because this September I'm going back. I just did a Disneyland trip at the end of December. Then I'm going back in September. I'm going to D23, which is their big Comic-Con thing they do, and we haven't had one since 2019, so that's going to be really fun.
oh yeah,
So anyway,
girl,
yeah.
you are a traveling woman. Okay.
I do. I love. It's funny because before the pandemic, I was kind of over traveling. I mean, I still did some, but that definitely, the quarantine was just like, I'm not going to put off doing anything that would give me joy anymore. I'm
Absolutely.
tired of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Co-sign that. Yes.
all right. Well, there's no spice level in this book, but what did you think about the chemistry between Lacey and Henry? Did you think it was pretty good?
Oh, I did. I thought the chemistry just like sizzled off the page. Like it was so
Yeah.
intense.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely
good.
there.
And then the trope time, we have, of course, your hot widower, which we love in these stories.
We do. We
All
do.
hot widowers out there. Where are you? There's so many in these stories, but I don't meet that many in real life. But then we of course have a royal story, and it's basically kind of a Cinderella story as well.
Mhm.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Right, well, let's talk about our reading roundup. Like I said, I've done quite a bit. But what is one that you have that you want to share?
So I think I'll just really quickly do the first two in a series that I've been reading. So the series is called the Smokejumpers Series by Tana Fensky. And the third book just released, and I'm reading it now. And oh my gosh, it's so good. It has a trope that I feel like I never see. It's like, we see a lot of siblings' best friend, but like, have you ever read a siblings' ex-partner romance? I haven't, and I'm hooked. So it's like, let me read the first two. So the first one is called The 2-Date Rule, and the second one is called Just a Little Bet. The 2-date rule is basically the heroine has like a boundary with dating. Like, I only do 2 dates. She grew up with a single dad, kind of poor, and now she's like really worked and like started her own business and is really like has a lot of money, but is also very frugal with money. And she just doesn't want to get into the weeds and seeds of like having to explain all that. So when the hero and her meet, the meet cute was hilarious. He's like, they enjoy each other's company and things happen pretty quickly. And they start hanging out and he just like, oh, this isn't a date. It's going to be us and friends. It's not a date. And like, before you know it, romance stuff ensues. And then with Just a Little Bet, it's like this fun second chance romance. The two have been together before. They're on a road trip to basically go meet with his other exes to find out like where he's failed in relationships, because it's like really weighing in on him. Like, he's kind of a commitment phobe and he wants to get down to the nitty gritty of why. And of course, like his person that he needs to realize and she needs to realize is like on this trip with him. So it's a really, really fun series. There is some steam in each of the books, but if you're looking for something fun and contemporary, but also like super like delivers on the emotions, check the series out. And also, like, I'm kind of addicted to the idea of smoke jumpers now. I'm like, we hear police officers, we hear firefighters, but like smoke jumpers sounds kind of hot. So yeah, that's The 2-Date Rule and Just a Little Bet by Tana Fensky. The third one that I'm reading right now is called The Best Kept Secret, which, like I said, siblings, ex-partner. So you can figure out the rest. So
Interesting. Yeah,
what's
that
one of
sounds
your first
good.
ones? It's good.
Cool. All right. Well, my first one I'm talking about is The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. This is the second of her books, Bridgerton books, and is, of course, the very loosely adapted for the season 2, which we're going to be talking about this week with Austin Burke and and Anne and Natasha Alvar are all going to be talking about Bridgerton season 2.
What are you
And-
thinking, Rachel? I have to ask.
No, I have to say I still enjoyed it, but I don't think it's as strong as season 1. And I do think they should have stayed a little closer to the book. The book is a lot steamier, spicier, as we like to say, because the second season is pretty tame. I mean, there's really only 2 scenes at the very end that you could easily skip over. I mean, it's way less spicy than season 1, and they they changed the plot quite a bit with Edwina and Kate, and I mean, it makes sense that it's going to be less spicy in season 2 because they season 1 is about a married couple. For the most, pretty early on, they get married, whereas season 2 isn't. But anyway, as far as the book, I thought the book was better because there's just more. I don't know. A lot of the time kind of spent with them dealing with this whole Edwina plot that they make for the series just was kind of not as good as the way it is in the book. They're more a couple right away, and there isn't this whole Edwina plot the same way. And so I don't know. I just thought the book was better than the series, but I still enjoyed the series. I mean, it's still fun.
It's my friend Sarah, like the second book is her favorite in the series, but she said because she's been watching the Netflix series too, she said that the plots in book 1 and 2 are very similar. So she's like, I can see Netflix not wanting to do similar plot lines for both seasons, I guess. So I'm like,
yeah, that's
okay,
fair.
that makes sense. I can see them be like, well, I got to do something. I just know I saw a clip and they like walked in and people were like waltzing to Madonna's Material Girl or something.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's a thing on the show is they have a which is fun. So I don't know. I'd give this probably like, I think I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. But what about you? Do you have another book you want to talk about?
Oh, yes, I do. So the next one is The Sweetheart Deal by Miranda Liaison. I can't remember if there was steam in this. So I'm just going to say, like, if there is, it's very light. I honestly don't remember. And it's a kind of an enemies to lovers. The heroine, her family owns like a French owned bread baking shop. And then the hero's family next door owns an Italian restaurant. And her family's restaurant has financially been struggling. She's like the kid that stayed around to help when she had all these dreams and aspirations, like go to culinary school and all of that, put all of that on hold, helped her sister, pursue her dreams. And they come up with this deal of like, okay, let's get, married and help out our family businesses. And then, we can call it quits after a certain time. And it's so good. Their families have been feuding for years, and they kind of get down to the bottom of like where the feud stems from, how stupid it is for them to still be feuding. And I just think it's so good. I mean, it's a trope that we see a lot of. I think a lot of people are probably tired of like fake marriages at this point. But, if you're in it just to see how an author is going to put their own special spin on it, I mean, I think that this book was just really, really sweet, really fun. I loved the food descriptions. Don't read this book if you're hungry, listeners. I mean, bread and pasta. That's all I'm going to say.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's The Sweetheart Deal by Miranda Liaison.
Oh, that sounds good. So next for me is Butterfly Sisters by Jenny Hale.
Oh my gosh, Rachel, you read it! It's so good.
Yeah, it was really good. I had to read it in order to talk to. I did the interview with Jenny, and she was kind enough to sponsor the podcast, and so that was really fun. And hopefully, people got a chance to check it out. It's somebody. I have 3 sisters, so whenever a story kind of dives into sister relationships, that's always going to hit home for me. So that was really fun, that it was more than, just a romance, that it was really about these two sisters and their relationship. It was almost more women's fiction than romance, really.
Yeah. That book, it was just like, I don't know, it felt like sitting on a front porch and like summer night before the sun goes down, like that
Mm-hmm.
cozy, you hear the like cicadas in the background and the water in
Yeah.
the distance. Like she really like transports you to this like fictionalized location.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, yeah, I let me tell you, like reading complex sister stories isn't always easy for me because I'm like, I get along with my sisters. I love my sisters. But I mean, you get so hooked on it. I don't know. And
Yeah.
you like, I don't know. I felt like the main character in that book was kind of hard on her sister, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was wonderful. I just felt like Jenny has been waiting to write that book. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. It was really, really good. Highly recommend it. And so thank you to Jenny for sponsoring the podcast too. That was really
Yay.
nice.
Yeah.
So do you have another one that you want to talk about?
I think that's all that I'm going
Yeah.
to talk about. Yeah.
Well, I have a couple more. I read Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter, and I had Lynn on the podcast because I loved Better Than the Movies so much. And that was a YA book. This is an adult book, and I enjoyed it. It's cute. It is spicy. So um, I would say it's like medium to hot spicy, and so it won't be for everybody. But it's basically a cute story of this girl who is staying over at her brother's place. He has this roommate who's always been uh, kind of a tough on her, and they kind of fight and had this relationship. And she ends up getting this wrong number that texts her, and she starts texting back with them. She doesn't realize that it's this roommate that she's texting with. And anyway, they end up having this relationship, but they are also texting, and it was cute. I liked it.
Yeah. Sounds
But
good.
definitely it is pretty spicy. And then I read, or listened to, I should say, Pride and Prejudice. That was during my California trip. The audiobook with Rosamund Pike doing the audio, and she did a great job. And, Pride and Prejudice, it's a classic for a reason.
You loved it.
And so that was fun. And then we read A Spot of Trouble by Teri Wilson. And I think probably just because I'm not like a super dog person, like animal person, like and it's about these uh, these Dalmatian owners, and I don't know I think that if you're going to read Teri Wilson, I would start with Once Upon a Royal Summer. That's her win, I would say. So, but yeah, so it was a pretty busy month for me as far as reading. That was pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I also read Turn to Me by Becky Wade, but we're going to talk about that probably in May because she is that's when it's released, and that's when I have already recorded the interview with her, and it's a inspirational romance.
That's awesome. Okay.
So yeah, and she's sponsoring the podcast, which is so nice. So thank you. And you should check out Becky. She's super sweet. And she has, if you like inspirational romance, then you might enjoy her books. So yeah, it was a busy month for me as far as reading.
Well, good reading months are always good. I mean, reading one book a month, is a good thing. So
yeah, 6. I read 6. That's pretty
awesome.
Pretty good for me. So yeah, let us know what you have been reading. We would love to hear in the comment section or on Twitter. And if you've read any of these books that we talked about, we'd love to hear about it. And Bree, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Bree.unabashedly, and I co-host the Categorically Romance podcast. So yeah, you can find me pretty much one of two places.
Right. Yes, and you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And you can follow both of us on Goodreads to keep up with our reading. We would appreciate that. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please give your ratings and reviews 5 stars. We so appreciate it. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group, like we talked about, where you can participate in Q&As and watch alongs with people like Teri Wilson. And it's so much fun. So definitely please check out the Patreon. That's the biggest way you can support us. And then we have our merch store as well. Take a look at that. And thanks so much. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.